Hello there, today we're going to go through every gun in Generation 0 and have a look at their stats, performance and place in the meta, help you decide what guns best suit you and your playstyle. Having played since launch and with the world record speedrun, I would say I'm pretty qualified for this job. If you disagree with me, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments, as any feedback would be greatly appreciated. The first gun we have in D tier is the Moller. To put it simply, it sucks. Take a look at what it does to this tank. Amazing. With a base clip of 8 and a low damage rate of 5, this gun is useless for anything over a prototype runner. If you're still using this, don't. Now to butcher some pronunciations. Next up we have the Monsieur hunting rifle. I'll admit that it can one-shot runners if you hit the fuel can, but against any enemies with armor it does absolutely nothing. Its low clip size, fire rate and damage all suffer in comparison to all the other snipers in the game, even the Magnus. It took me 1 minute 30 to kill a single Phoenix Hunter, and in 2 minutes and 30 seconds I wasn't able to kill a tank. I think that should speak for itself. Finishing off D tier, we have a fan favourite, the grenade launcher. While great for blowing up your friends, its rare and heavy ammo makes this gun almost worthless considering you have far better options. Harvesters and tanks take 8 ammo to take down, and even hunters need 4 to kill. So while this weapon does kill quickly, taking it down a tank in 23 seconds, the ammo makes it not worth it. Starting off C tier, we have the Magnus. While some love its quick one-shots on runners' fuel cans, much like the Monsieur, it has almost no use outside of killing runners from range. While it does accept a scope and has a decently high damage rate of 7, the low fire rate and clip size of the gun make it pale in comparison to guns that have the same damage per shot, such as the AG4. Do me a favour and just choose the clock as your side weapon, as there's much better sniping alternatives. Coming up next is the 12G pump. There's one fatal flaw with shotguns in Generation 0, but especially with the experimental pump. You have to get close. As simple as that sounds, getting close to your enemies is usually a bad strategy, with the perfect placement being mid-range, as you're able to use snipers, assault rifles and SMGs effectively. The pump struggles to hit targets 5 meters away with buckshot, and can't hit a target 1 meter away with slugs. Just use birdshot, you might say? But not only does the widespread of birdshot lead to low damage, but the game shouldn't make 2 ammo types completely invalid. There are some upsides to the pump though. If you do manage to get in close, you can do major damage with buckshot, doing 11 damage when all pellets hit, and even more after the explosion. And if you can get close to a tank, you can permanently stun lock it, as long as there's no other machines that come and distract you. But at least there's some reason to use it. Time to butcher even more names. The Alg Studser, hopefully I said that right, is a decent weapon if you're in the market for a silent sniper, with one of the highest damage numbers in the game, 15. What draws this weapon back is the low armor penetration, low rate of fire, low clip size, holding only 4 bullets compared to the PVG's 10, and high damage drop off, and simply the redundancy of it as a sniper compared to the PVG. It took me 2 minutes to kill a Phoenix tank and 35 seconds to kill a Phoenix Hunter, and 1 shot to kill a runner on fuel can and 2 shot to the body. Do yourself a favour and just use the PVG. In B tier we have the Sorta. It has similar drawbacks to the pump with needing to get close, immediately lowering its rating. But it does have a high rate of fire, similar damage numbers before explosion, with a rating of 10 and has far better range, even managing to hit the farthest away target with slugs, even though it was only 1 pellet. Managed to take down a military harvester in 8 shells and a military hunter in 3 to 4. It could also take down a tank in 1 minute and 15 seconds, not bad. So there are definitely better options. I wouldn't despise you too much if you used the Sorta. Next up is the Kyfaros, bringing solid stats with a 4 in damage, 13 in fire rate when not in overdrive, and high handling. It's brought down by its wide spray and fast damage fall off. While good for clearing basic runners and hunters, when facing larger enemies it might be wiser to switch weapons. Definitely doable however, taking down a Phoenix tank to 9% HP, and I promptly ran out of ammo in 1 minute. Definitely getting up there in the world. However, the low clip size also makes it harder to kill multiple enemies without getting shot at in return while reloading, putting this just below the HP 5. but if you prefer higher fire rate and lower damage, be my guest, just don't expect to blow your mind compared to some of the other guns on this list. The HB5 is the complete opposite of the Kyfaros, with a relatively high damage number of 5 and a rate of fire of 10. It's the first gun in this list I would actually considering using in my main kit, depending on my playstyle and character. It can demolish anything below a harvester in seconds at close range, and doesn't need to be reloaded as much as the Kyfaros. It is still quite ammo hungry, and be mindful about where to retreat to if you need to reload. It does fall short over long distances against armor and isn't as accurate as the Kyfaros, but it is an SMG, so what can you expect? Alongside something as an AG5 in your party, this will do well at clearing the smaller robots while your AG5 can clear the big guys. Solid combo. Next up, we have the two melee weapons. While these do suffer from the same drawbacks as shotguns, having to get close, the high damage numbers, fire rates, and the ability to stun make this worth the trade-off. Being able to run around in the middle of a group of hunters swinging your sledgehammer, two-shotting everything is very satisfying, risky as it may be. Being able to kill anything smaller than a harvester in under 3 shots with the sledgehammer is a risk worth taking, and the Brandballback can do the same in 5 with the quicker fire rate. Definitely would recommend getting a lot of medkits, adrenaline shots, and if you can, the survivor perk though, because you will be taking a lot of fire doing this, but the reward is worth it. Rounding off B tier is the AI-76. To be honest, I wanted to put this in A tier, but I can't have all the assault rifles in the same tier. With its rate of fire being 10, making it the drawn best for the fire rate out of all the assault rifles, made it look like it was going to be amazing, but its very high spray and low damage rating of 6 definitely holds it back. It's essentially an AG4 with lower damage and higher spray, but a bigger magazine. A trade-off I would say isn't worth it, especially compared to the experimental AG4. This led to it taking 2/3 of a clip to kill a Phoenix Hunter, which overall took me 1 minute 45 to kill a Phoenix Harvester and 9 Hunters. But if you can get a little bit closer, the AI-76 can definitely hold its own. Starting off the A tier is the KVM-89, the KVM-59's little brother. With a damage rating of 6 and a fire rate of 10, it's a solid weapon for all-around shooting, being able to kill runners and hunters with ease, taking me 2 minutes to kill a tank, pack of hunters and runners all Phoenix class. It also has the larger mag size to make up for its high rate of fire, but the ammo is quite rare compared to the rest of the ammo in the game, and the gun is quite ammo hungry. It also has the longest reload time in the game, so it's best you have a couple medkits on hand. If you see a group of low level enemies and you have one of these, you know it's going to be a good time. Next up is the clock. When I started researching and testing for this, I expected the clock to be much lower on the tier list, but I was pleasantly surprised. The recoil isn't too bad, it has a damage rating of 5 and a fire rate of 7, and one-shot runners on fuel can and has by far the largest secondary gun clip. And the experimental clock's EMP is just the cherry on top. I was able to destroy a tank and a couple runners in just under a minute, with the clock alone, and could consistently kill hunters in a couple of seconds. Compared to some of the other A tier automatic weapons, is it good? Not really. Compared to all of the other secondary weapons, definitely. The AG4 is one of my favourite weapons, having a good damage rating of 7, high rate of fire with 10 and decent accuracy. The incendiary bonus with the experimental weapon also allowed for damage over time, meaning you could shoot a tank's weak point and it would do massive damage. It's pretty consistent at most ranges as well, with the damage falling off only happening at very long ranges. Its very low mag size compared to the other ARs is devastating for success though, with a base mag of 20 compared to the normal of 30. Even though I don't think it's the best assault rifle, I think it's definitely a very close match, and the AG4 is still devastating when used right. The final gun in A tier is the AG5, being by far the most accurate assault rifle in the game, which also has the highest damage rate of 8 among ARs. This leads to it being very good at pretty much anything, being able to target any enemy's weak spot and landing heavy hitting hits, one after the other. It also has the drawn best clip size in assault rifles, making its only weak point its fire rate of 9, which is still very good when compared to some of the other guns in the game. The only reason this is an A tier is because of how good the guns in S tier are. Would highly recommend. Firstly, in S tier we have the KVM-59, and I'll let it speak for itself. Yeah, pretty cool. And it has a much higher damage rate than its little brother, the KVM-89, with a damage rating of 9 and only a slightly smaller fire rate of 9, and a smaller clip size. However, it has a similar overall fire time due to the lower fire rate. It is one of the most inaccurate guns in the game, only being more accurate than the KVM-89, but the insane fire rate and the killing power means you don't really have to aim for the weak spots anyway. Just hit somewhere and it'll break off its armor in seconds. The lightning arcs also become very useful for taking care of large groups of enemies with ease, which just adds on top of how good the KVM-59 already is. If you haven't used this, you haven't experienced true power in Generation 0. And the overall best gun in Generation 0 is, in my opinion, the PVG. With almost no damage drop off or bullet drop, an insane damage number of 15 on the experimental, a railgun attachment for the experimental that allows for bullet penetration, 10 bullets per clip, and a fire rate of 6 make this the ideal gun for every situation. Big tank takes 1 clip and 27 seconds with my terrible aim to take down a Phoenix one. Runners everywhere, quick scope montage. Hunters running at you from 10 miles away, 1 shot to the fuel can and they're gone. The only downsides are the rare ammo, which you can get easily enough from killing tanks with your PVG, and then it's loud. However, with the PVG, there's not really a need to be quiet, because you can annihilate anything that comes your way. If you don't have your PVG in your second slot, what are you doing? And that's everything. I hope that you've gained something from this, and if not, feel free to give some constructive criticism in the comments. However, if you did gain something, you can check out some of our other Generation 0 videos like this, where we try to beat the game with no guns, or help us grow by subscribing and leaving a like, as that'd be greatly appreciated. Have a great day, and see you next time.